remember the way they laughed, the rich sound echoing in my ears, sharp and raw as a knife. Eldritch botany? You've lost your mind, Geoffrey. My brother's sneer twisted into a grin. His friends joined in, mocking the only thing that had ever captured my heart. My family had become the chorus of my defeat. I had been an agricultural scientist, a respected one, until I exposed the crop circles and the ominous animal disappearances plaguing our rural community. They called my findings lunacy. They said I was chasing shadows. I lost my job, my credibility, and ultimately the support of everyone I thought loved me. But in that pit of despair, I found an unexpected refuge in the very nightmares they mocked. I became obsessed with what lay beyond the veil of our understanding. Eldritch plants that fed on the fears and darkness hidden within the ground. I spent years delving into their mysteries, transforming my home into a shrine of twisted roots and bioluminescent flowers, writing down every harrowing detail of each discovery as night fell, when they would come alive. Years passed, and I became a pariah, a ghost among ghosts, until finally the world took notice. I gained recognition for what I had survived, for unveiling the horrors that thrived in the silence beneath the surface, beyond the ridicule and scorn. My work gathered momentum. I was no longer Geoffrey the disgraced. I was a herald of truths that demanded to be seen. But there was a reckoning waiting for me, a storm brewing beneath the surface, a need to confront my family. I arrived at our old home, the paint peeling, the garden overrun with weeds, every bit as forlorn as I had felt all those years ago. But I was different now, a culmination of everything I had unearthed, and I carried with me a secret that would make their laughter turn to ash. The tension in the air was palpable as I knocked on the door. My mother opened it, and for a moment I saw the flicker of recognition, a glimmer of the son she had lost to insanity. She swallowed hard, a tight smile forming on her lips. "Geoffrey, we weren't expecting you." There was a tremor in her voice that betrayed her anxiety. The living room was just as I remembered it, filled with family pictures and the scent of baked goods. It was suffocating. They chuckled, nervous and uneasy, as I laid out my findings, an array of photographs, specimens, and documentation on the Eldritch plants that were not mere conspiracies, but manifestations of something inexplicably ancient. And then, just as I was recounting my last expedition, how the crops had whispered secrets during the harvest moon, how the plants invited me into their nightmarish dance, a tremor shook the ground beneath our feet. It was a pulse, rhythmic and insistent, as if the very earth had grown restless. "What was that?" My mother's voice trembled, her face paling. The laughter that had once filled this space turned to silence, a heavy blanket of dread enveloping us. I felt it, that terrible weight of the truth clawing to be set free. "I warned you," I whispered, barely above a breath, as the light dimmed. "The plants, they sense disbelief. They thrive on it." The walls around us darkened, shadows creeping like fingers, twisting and writhing with a will of their own. I watched as panic etched the faces of my family, their laughter replaced with horror and realization. And then they emerged, those eldritch horrors I had glimpsed in my research, beings of vine and dread, slithering through the cracks and crevices of the very home that had once been my sanctuary. Be grotesque and magnificent, their tendrils whispering dark truths as they unfurled in the dim light. I had thought I had mastered the knowledge, but now, witnessing their true form, the terror clawed at my sanity anew. "Geoffrey," my mother shrieked, clutching my father's arm as they backed away. "Make them stop!" But they were my creations now, a testament to the studies I had endured, and I felt the pulse of their power surging through me. You mocked me for believing, for searching. You need to understand the consequences of your disbelief. My voice trembled with a mixture of rage and sorrow as I stepped toward the writhing mass of plants. The air thickened with despair, and as I turned to face them, I saw the realization dawn in their eyes. The cost of their ridicule was now their burden to bear. In that moment, I was no longer that lost son. I had become the harbinger of a truth they could no longer deny. The plants continued to writhe and twist, a horrific ballet of retribution, as I stood at the center, a witness to their reckoning. The room filled with screams, but I felt liberated in the chaos. I had returned home, not as the disgrace they had painted me, but as a guardian of an unveiled horror that held the power to alter the very fabric of our reality. Their laughter had toned to terror, and in that moment I understood what I had become, a vessel for my own vindication. As I stepped back, feeling the weight of their disbelief pressing against me, I whispered to the shadows, "Let them witness the truth." And in that twisted intimacy, I understood the chilling poetry of my fate. What I had lost, what I had gained, and the insatiable hunger of the world I had dared to unveil. The truth was here, finally, and they would never forget it, because in the silent aftermath of their laughter, they would find only echoes of their own fears, a haunting melody of remorse intertwined with the roots of what they had once scorned.